Can machines think? Hi, I'm Saba. Welcome to Hidden Math.
During World War II, the Germans used a highly sophisticated encryption device called the Enigma machine. If the Allied forces, especially Britain, wanted any chance of winning the war, they had to figure out how to break its code. Fortunately, the Allies had what might be considered their ultimate secret weapon, Alan Turing. Although Turing never fought on the front lines, he helped design the foundations of the modern computer and played a decisive role in shortening World War II. Given that, you might expect him to have been celebrated as a national hero. But that wasn't what happened. Today, we're going to explore both the heroic life and the tragic death of Alan Turing. Turing was born in 1912, but instead of telling his story chronologically, let's begin in 1950, when he was about 39 years old. In England during the 1950s, homosexuality was considered one of the greatest social taboos, and it was still a criminal offense. Turing was aware of his personal life orientation, and during a relationship with a 19-year-old man named Arnold Murray, Murray later came to Turing's home and robbed him. Turing himself reported the incident to the police. However, once the relationship became known, Turing was arrested. Not for the robbery, but for being gay. For many decades, homosexuality had been treated as a crime in England. One of its most famous earlier victims was Oscar Wilde, who had been prosecuted in the 1890s. Turing was convicted and given a choice: imprisonment or chemical treatment involving estrogen injections. He chose the latter. Despite having helped end World War II, when Turing was charged, very few people came to his defense. At that time, in the eyes of society, his sexuality overshadowed all of his achievements. The hormone treatment caused severe side effects. Its supposed purpose was to correct homosexuality, but instead it left Turing physically weakened, sterile, and deeply depressed. Even so, Turing continued working and remained involved in important scientific projects. To understand how severe his punishment was, it helps to consider the social climate of Britain in the early 1950s. In 1952, the same year he was arrested, a major newspaper described homosexual men as strange elements. Despite the pressure and humiliation, Turing faced the situation with remarkable courage, even while suffering internally. On June 8, 1954, his housekeeper found his body at home, beside a half-eaten apple laced with cyanide. The official ruling was suicide. However, Turing's mother and some of his friends believed his death may have been accidental, since he had been conducting experiments that involved cyanide. Another theory suggests that British authorities might have poisoned him out of fear that his secrets could be exposed. There is even a popular legend that the bitten apple later inspired the Apple logo, though no evidence has ever confirmed this. After World War II ended, the Cold War began, and codebreaking remained critically important. Turing was recognized as an expert and even received a salary of $5,000 per year to work with GCHQ, the government communications headquarters. But his success did not last. Because the United States and Britain shared intelligence, and because US policy at the time viewed homosexual men as security risks, believing they could be blackmailed, Turing's arrest led to his security clearance being revoked. This ended his ability to continue code-breaking work, which devastated him. Turing had known from a young age that he was gay. As a student, he developed strong feelings for a close friend named Christopher. Although Christopher did not reciprocate those feelings, they shared a deep passion for mathematics and chemistry. Christopher's early death was a profound emotional blow that affected Turing for the rest of his life. During World War II, while working at Bletchley Park, Turing, fully aware of his orientation, proposed marriage to his close colleague, Joan Clarke. They were engaged for a short time. Turing later told her the truth about himself, and eventually he ended the relationship. Despite being a war hero, why was Turing treated this way? One major reason was secrecy. Everyone who worked at Bletchley Park had signed strict confidentiality agreements. Not even their families were allowed to know what they had done. So when Turing was arrested, he could not even tell authorities that he had helped save Britain. Winston Churchill himself later stated that Turing's contribution was one of the greatest in ending the war. Had the public known this at the time, his sentence might have been less severe. In fact, Turing had already changed history years earlier while still a young researcher. While studying at Princeton, he wrote his groundbreaking paper on computability and the decision problem, laying the theoretical foundations of modern computer science. In that paper, he imagined a hypothetical machine that could follow instructions encoded on a tape. Unlike earlier machines designed to solve only one specific task, this universal Turing machine could run different algorithms, making general-purpose computing possible. Before World War II, codebreaking had been done manually. When Germany introduced the Enigma machine, Polish mathematicians initially made progress. But later, German upgrades made the system far more complex. At Bletchley Park, even with more than 12,000 staff working in shifts, the code remained difficult to break. This is where Turing's ideas became critical. He helped develop an electromechanical device called the Bombe, designed to systematically search for Enigma settings. By the end of the war, the Bombe was helping decode vast numbers of German naval messages. General Eisenhower later suggested that without these efforts, the war might have lasted at least 2 more years, and millions more lives could have been lost. In 1950, Turing also asked a revolutionary question. Can machines think? This question led to one of the most influential ideas in artificial intelligence. He proposed what is now known as the imitation game, or the Turing test. In this test, an interrogator communicates with both a human and a computer without seeing them. If the interrogator cannot reliably distinguish the computer from the human, the machine is said to have passed the test. For decades, this seemed impossible. Then, in 2014, a chatbot named Eugene, designed to imitate a 13-year-old boy, reportedly convinced about 33% of judges that it was human. Although Turing was treated unjustly during his life, some recognition came later. In 2009, after a public petition, British Prime Minister Gordon Brown formally apologized on behalf of the government. Later, a royal pardon was issued. And in 2017, the Turing Law extended pardons to thousands of men who had been convicted under historical anti-homosexuality laws. In a sense, even after his death, Turing continued helping others. What do you think about his story? If you'd like to share your thoughts, I'd love to read them. There is also a film based on his life called The Imitation Game. If you haven't seen it, it's definitely worth watching. And if you enjoyed this video, please subscribe, like, and leave your comments below.
It's the greatest encryption device in history, and the Germans use it for all communications. Everyone thinks Enigma is unbreakable.
Let me try, and we'll know for sure.
Mr. Turing, do you know how many died because of it?
I don't.
3. While we've been having this conversation.